Welcome to Rumbo Minero, Cesar. How are you?
Nice to see you, Jorge.
My name is Jorge Leon, and along with Cesar Campos, we are going to address several topics in this program. We're going to have Rodolfo García here, who is the High Commissioner for Combating Illegal Mining for the Presidency, the Council of Ministers, PCM. What is happening with the fight? On the other hand, has the war already been lost? We are in battle. What is going on, right?
That's right, Jorge. We will also continue with presidential candidates. In this case, the aspirant of the Peruvian Aprista Party's presidential candidate, Enrique Valderrama, whom we will ask what he plans to do with mining in our country.
That's right. We're going to a report prepared by the Rumbo Minero team, and we'll start with the interviews.
This year, Peru has strengthened its strategy to combat illegal mining. By implementing a holistic strategy focusing on criminalizing every aspect of the supply chain and enhancing efforts to stop illegal activities within the country, led by a key figure, significant progress can be achieved in safeguarding national security. Commissioner, as part of this effort, on January 20th, 2026, Legislative Decree number 1695 was passed, which modifies the penal code and increases sanctions for illicit mineral resource trafficking. The norm establishes sentences between 6 and 9 years in prison and expands the crime to include not only extraction, but also the processing, transport, and commercialization of illegally sourced minerals. Furthermore, it authorizes the use of special investigation techniques against these criminal networks. On the operational front, during the first fortnight of January, 48 interdiction operations took place, resulting in the destruction of machinery and camps valued at over 61 million soles, primarily in Madre de Dios, Ucayali, Junín, Arequipa, and La Libertad. In parallel, the Ministry of the Interior promotes the national strategy against illegal mining until 2030, coordinating the National Police, the Navy, and the Environmental Prosecutor's Office, to counter an illicit activity that has now expanded across nearly the entire nation.
Well, in this very interview, we now find ourselves with the High Commissioner tasked with combating illegal mining operations. The gentleman, Mr. Rodolfo García Esquerre. Welcome to you, sir.
Thanks.
Garcia, the first question and a considerable quantity of emails and messages on social media when we announced we were going to interview him. What exactly is going on here? Because sometimes a person might achieve some successes and work on things behind the scenes, but what the whole of Peru witnesses is that the fight against illegal mining is lost. Those are the comments heard everywhere. Could you please elaborate on the current situation and explain how we can reverse a trend involving an amount of money exceeding $10 billion annually? Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. It is true that there is a perception among the public about the problem of illegal mining. I am sorry, but in my view, this understanding is limited. That is why media organizations like yours play a crucial role in providing comprehensive information. Help a great deal so that the population perceives the genuine seriousness of the issue with illegal mining is finally coming to light in its full extent. It's not a recent problem, it's one that has existed for several decades. Some estimate that illegal mining has been active in Madre de Dios since the middle of the 1980s. Over 100,000 hectares, some cite 200,000 acres destroyed by illegal mining. 225 water sources are contaminated. Illegal mining is occurring across the entire nation. It is causing significant harm to numerous native and rural communities. It is leading to significant political, economic, social, and security ramifications of massive proportions. However, the state is also reacting. There is a shift that is currently being pushing forward recently via the new strategy aimed at the reduction and interdiction of illegal mining operations that has a comprehensive view of both the problem and the solution. And I can explain something to you about that.
We could certainly go over some details regarding that, Rodolfo, because some experts have discussed and analyzed the balloon effect, though in patas it could to come down somehow. And that is an indicator that the government praises. However, in Huánuco, you said it well, Madre de Dios. In the jungle itself, in Iquitos, illegal mining activity has also increased tremendously. And a significant part of the issue lies in the number of public agencies that must be involved. You are the High Commissioner. You represent the executive branch, but the Ministry of the Interior intervenes. SUNAT intervenes. The regional government intervenes. The local governments. how could we focus the articulation of that effort and work on the positive results that can be achieved?
Yes, with pleasure. As you are aware, there exists a commission that covers multiple sectors. It consists of a total of 9 ministers and 5 other entities, such as the Public Ministry, the Judiciary, SUNAT, SUNARP, and even the regional governments, forming a significant part of the structure. This commission is focused on 3 distinct axes. You see, 3 axes that are quite differentiated, very clearly defined, yet they are absolutely complementary to one another. The first is formalization. And I always state it this way. To the extent that we have more formal mining, there will be less informal mining and less room for illegality. The Ministry of Energy and Mines follows its established rules. We are working towards implementing a mapping law to govern the rainfall extensions more effectively in the near future. The exclusions of more than 50,000 re-enlistments made last year are a very important achievement that must be highlighted, right? There was of course a lot of noise about it. But of the more than 50,000 reinforcements, 45,800 hadn't worked for 4 years or more. That must be said. So, it's becoming increasingly evident that the realm of reinfos has dwindled significantly to slightly over 31,000 reinfos, with many of them disappearing. There are actual opportunities for making things official. That work is carried out by the Ministry of Energy and Mines to combat illegal mining. We closely monitor the Commission's contribution, which plays a crucial role in fighting against unauthorized mining activities. The eradication itself stands as the second pillar in the process. And in that area, there is a very significant shift in the overall focus. What has been done for more than a decade is going to destroy dredges or close mine entrances. Of course, there are other institutions that have participated, like SUNAT, doing their part and so on. But there wasn't an integral or integrated approach in a single strategy. Today it is. The strategy for combating illicit mining was officially approved by Supreme Decree last June, marking a significant milestone in the fight against such activities. I stress this point because the prior strategy, the one from 2014, was only called the strategy for interdiction. By having added reduction and interdiction, we are giving it a broader focus involving many more stakeholders, and the strategy is now divided into 7 main pillars. It covers aspects from georeferencing to knowledge management. The UIF plays a crucial role in tracking the finances. There are the interdictions themselves with an approach that I will now explain. Monitoring the processing plants, especially in artisanal mining, is crucial as they serve as a focal point in operations requiring follow-up and oversight. Ensuring proper oversight of chemicals, fuels, and explosives is essential for effective control and safety measures of the sales process, and most importantly, criminal investigation, intelligence gathering, and subsequent investigation. Currently, the main focus is on interdiction in order to complete the concept. As I reiterate, it's not just about carrying out the interdiction. We must remain present on site, because what has occurred over the past decade, I repeat, is that interdictions happen, but illegal mining recovers immediately. With the profit margin they have now, as the dollar is over $5,000 an ounce, miners have the capability to effortlessly retrieve a dredge, engine, or sealed mine shaft.
Why was Patas abandoned so swiftly, leaving the Patas post behind?
They are not abandoned. In Patas, we have 3 tax routes. There are 3 checkpoints there. There is personnel right now from SUNAT, SUCAMEC, Migrations, of course, the National Police, and the Armed Forces. There are other institutions that have been there and that need to go soon, and I'm sure that will recover, right? In greater numbers than there are now.
Do you feel that the Energy and Mines Commission and Congress in general have not helped for a MAP law to be carried out, which is much more serious than a reinfo?
Yes, it must be clarified that the MAPE law is not a law for formalization. It is a law to regulate small-scale and artisanal mining, but it is absolutely needed. We should have it, or we should have already had it since it was eliminated.
But they disappeared, apparently.
Yes, and now, hopefully this year, we finally get an MAPE law, and hopefully this year, there won't be any more reinfo extensions. The idea is that we can finish, formalization can be finished, but under a different legal framework, not necessarily with reinfo. From my point of view, I think it was born with good intention, but in light of the facts, it hasn't served its purpose, and only 2.4% was formalized. The results speak for themselves, don't they? I would like to add, to finish with the third axis, I have explained the formalization, the eradication. The third axis is as important as the first. It's about recovering the environment, but with 2 conditions. we just recently approved this year in the first session of the committee. Is it necessary for the members of a multi-sectoral working group to have a clear concept before implementing a new strategy? Constructive criticism is key in evaluating the effectiveness of a strategy. Completing the project will require some time, likely a few months, as both budgeting and implementation will be time-consuming. However, we will begin by focusing on developing the concept. The goal is to restore the environment damaged by illegal mining while allowing governmental intervention for development to take place. Unfortunately, this has not been effectively executed, or at best, it has been implemented in a sporadic manner. And move on to explore different economies. Check out this area. In river basins such as the Santiago River, I have been there on more than one occasion. Native communities there are being heavily affected. There are leaders of those native communities who are truly very concerned and also very active in the fight against illegal mining. But a segment of the community or the communities themselves have also made commitments.
Okay.
If we eradicate the illegal mining there, what will we leave them in return?
Okay.
All over Peru.
Thank you very much to Rodolfo García, High Commissioner for the Fight Against Illegal Mining from the Presidency of the Council of Ministers. Thank you very much for being with us. We hope. Feel free to come back and keep us informed about the progress you have made so far.
Yes, with pleasure. Thank you very much for the invitation. Today we have a greater commitment because this year there is a larger budget than what we have had in previous years.
As it must.
As it ought to be. Therefore, we have the commitment to improve how we do things. But just to conclude this part, the idea is reduce spending on interdictions, enhance control, oversight, and the search for alternative solutions to promote development. Accepted. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to help.
Thanks. I want to mention to everyone here that it is approaching. Specifically in September, the mining month of September arrives. We have named it this way because Expomina is scheduled to take place. www.expominapro.com. Book your stand. Over 1,000 sold. Don't miss out on this great fair, which will also feature international events within the fair itself, like Chesco. Well, Chile is going to have a series of talks and the Chesco dinner there for the very first time in Lima. Also, international events that will be able to take place within Expomina. So we invite you. We're going to a commercial break and we'll be right back. Upon entering the international segment of our America mining operations, we establish a connection with Wall Street in New York, where our international editor, José Gonzáles from Rumbo Minero, is based. José, welcome.
Glad to have arrived at this place. At the ministerial meeting on critical minerals held in Washington a few weeks ago, delegates from more than 50 countries came together to establish the foundation for a novel critical mineral supply chain, designed to break China's dominant position in the market. During that ministerial meeting, the United States unveiled its brand new initiative, which is called the Forum on Resource Governance for Critical Minerals. A group of nations coming together with the goal of boosting investments in crucial mineral supply chains, both in the public and private sectors, in a swift manner. As President Vance described it, it's a preferential trade zone for critical minerals protected from outside disruptions via minimum enforceable prices. This new initiative is a follow-up to the Pax Silica, a past multinational effort aimed at securing artificial intelligence-driven supply chains. The continuation aims to build upon the foundation laid by its predecessor. The United States Export-Import Bank is spearheading a new initiative to create a national strategic reserve of critical minerals, with the aim of enhancing national security and resource resilience. This project, which is named VOLT, with the ultimate aim of boosting production and safeguarding producers against any future supply crises. The new 60-day reserve will be supported with a $10 billion loan from Exim Bank, along with $2 billion in private equity participation, totaling $12 billion in financial backing. At the meeting, the United States Trade Representative announced both a bilateral plan specifically with Mexico and a trilateral agreement involving the European Union and Japan, all aimed at strengthening the supply chains of essential minerals and lay the groundwork for a broader agreement with other allies. According to the Financial Times, Washington's plan to stockpile minerals, the massive undertaking raises queries among analysts and operators as they ponder on how this colossal effort will operate and if it could potentially disturb the global markets. Under the project, the United States will purchase and store emergency supplies of a range of critical minerals so that manufacturers, like those for automobiles, they use in times of crisis. There is limited information available on the specifics of how the vault will function. Operators and analysts believe that this initiative will potentially place the US in direct competition with other Western countries. Various countries are eager to diminish their reliance on China for essential minerals. The establishment known as the Vault is a component of a larger initiative led by the United States to break free from its dependence on China for a wide array of metals that are vital to sectors like energy, technology, and defense. over which Beijing has clearly demonstrated its willingness to implement. What is feared is that hoarding could generate, if it results in such hoarding, as analysts have pointed out, a rise in metal prices and the subsequent scarcity of these materials. Regarding Peru specifically, the Chancellor Hugo Sela signed a Memorandum of Understanding concerning cooperation on critical minerals and rare earths with the United States while he was participation in the ministerial meeting. The memorandum enables collaborative identification of key projects and improves access to financial and technological resources, facilitating their implementation. These actions are aimed at promoting new investments, strengthening the competitiveness of the Peruvian mining sector, and diversifying its productive base. The agreement includes technology transfer and technical scientific institutional cooperation through information exchange, specialized knowledge, and the sharing of international best practices. It will also contribute to strengthening Peru's capabilities in areas such as exploration, resource mapping, processing, recycling, the formation of human capital, and research and development related to these critical minerals.
Thank you very much, José Gonzáles. Well, precisely. As the international editor of Rumbo Minero, José Gonzáles is getting ready for his next assignment in the mining industry. Don't miss out on the next issue of Rumbo Minero. Check it out at www.rumbominero.com for great articles on the mining industry. And you will be able to download all the information that comes out every 45 days, fresh information, studies conducted by the entire frontline Rumbo Minero team, and interviews with opinion leaders in the mining sector. Let's pause for a while and come back soon. We are now here in our studios and we are continuing along the path of the electoral campaign in order to ascertain precisely what the candidates' opinions are regarding the mining subject. We are now joined by Enrique Valderrama, presidential candidate for the party, the Peruvian Aprista Party, APRA. Enrique, welcome. How are you?
Thank you for the invitation. I'm delighted to be part of this gathering.
Economic reactivation, measures implemented during the initial 2 years and strategies for effectively managing the growth stimulus. How should we handle the growth stimulus?
We presented a shock plan which we have named Popular and Economic Reactivation during a press conference a couple of weeks ago. And this plan definitely incorporates major investments, meaning we propose the agro-export area increases from 250,000 to 500,000 hectares, proposing the possibility of unblocking mining investments in the country, which amount to $60 billion. Naturally, the expansions simplify things by removing bureaucracy, creating a shock to the system for better efficiency. And in the other one, concerning the great investment, the new projects, we do not inherently believe in the social feasibility of major modern mining operations, which absolutely requires a reconfiguration on our part. Of the canon, specifically that reconfigured canon, 20% of direct allocation for the citizens in the area of influence of the extractive activity on the one hand. Furthermore, we firmly believe in the popular component, advocating for a system of guarantees sourced not from the Central Reserve Bank, but rather from the Treasury, of 3,000 million sols for application through COFIDE, for example, of popular credit at a much more preferential interest rate, fundamentally focused logically on MSMEs in the country, and obviously to the producers in the agricultural sector and logically to the artisanal fishermen whom we have just visited in various ports across the country. We instinctively feel that we also require a considerable overhaul of our infrastructure. Concretely, our plan for the upcoming 4 years involves constructing Line 3 and Line 4 of the Lima Metro, and also managing to build a metro line in Trujillo, in Piura, and in Arequipa, to prioritize the issue in the south at Corio and in the north at the Port of Iten, among other big infrastructure projects.
Let's pause here, Enrique, on an aspect you mentioned regarding attracting investment, because this is only to be packaged within an offer that could potentially be the country of the great ones. To progress, we must push forward with major projects and address issues in deregulation. However, social conflicts and excessive bureaucracy pose challenges along the way. There is redundancy within the state's own structure that must be removed, which is responsible for decision-making. That is why investment projects, specifically mining ones, are delayed. Given that, do you have a global view of all these structural reforms that are going to be made in the state?
The mining projects issue, for example, 60,000 million, has two fundamental matters. The new ones, which we discussed, regarding a reconfiguration of the canon for direct allocation of money to the people for the possibility of their social viability. The other portion consists mostly of expansions, which essentially translates into bureaucratic procedures. This is the reason why the mining issue is crucial, not just in general, but specifically due to its significant impact on the GDP. Prioritizing its importance is essential. Our party has long been working on the idea of reducing bureaucratic red tape by at least 50%. This proposal aims to streamline processes and increase efficiency in government operations. We believe this is fundamental and necessary, as we also believe it is for not only the large schemes. The aim is not only to assist in the formalization of entrepreneurs in the country, but also to encourage micro-investment opportunities. In order to promote formality, we are willing to offer incentives, government purchases, tax credits, and streamlined bureaucratic processes. Entrepreneurs may also benefit from grace periods to support their ventures. That is, we will reduce the paperwork for big investment and for micro-investment.
Now, unauthorized mining activity, A679, we were unable to discover the correct formula. None of the governments have managed to truly legalize this formula of power, right? What we have is the reinfo, which is a poorly made document which is too broad. The congressmen in the Energy and Mines Committee made sure to sing the MAPE law so it wouldn't pass when it was won. It is a necessary law. How would you articulate in a potential presidency of yours, how would you articulate to move forward with a law like MAPE in a potential government?
We absolutely must propose a formalization framework for mining operations that are eligible for legalization, meaning we exclude the illegal ones, which is settling down in areas that might eventually be receptive to legitimate extraction, avoiding any illegal activities that attempt to establish roots where they do not belong. Potential extractive activities, in addition to employing armed individuals, often involve truly illicit schemes. And I believe there hasn't been a concrete offer, nor a concrete or broad dialogue with these sectors. I believe it is essential to bring up the idea that we may need to consider declaring that the rainfall matter will not be ongoing. It's necessary to address this possibility. But we must arrive on the 28th of July with two regulatory packages, one for citizen security and the other for formalization. Mining. We propose, among other things, for example, we can give facilities for importation or even in a strategic alliance, for installing mini mineral processing plants that are environmentally friendlier in exchange for formalization and raising environmental and obviously labor standards.
Are there government-installed spy devices?
I think it's essential for them to have some form of state protection, as there are undoubtedly illicit schemes that we shouldn't engage in, such as collaborating with those involved in mineral extraction. Compliance with regulations is crucial to avoid any legal issues that may arise. Under better circumstances, most of the time, they are not the ones who directly receive the primary economic benefits. Instead, they operate as intermediaries who profit from this setup. It is a common pattern that they do not directly benefit in terms of the overall economy. The reinforcement must not go further, and we must arrive on the 28th of July with a proposal for a law that has also tried to reach a consensus or tried to bring the producers closer, who are not the ones who extract, immediately those who are not the main participants. Beneficiaries are at the heart of our beliefs. We see potential for significant progress through the mini-plant scheme, similar to the one utilized in Chile. This strategy could propel us forward considerably in the ongoing debate. We have presented some initiative regarding this a couple of weeks ago and is coordinating with the other different specialists, including Iván Arenas.
Okay.
What exactly is Enrique Valderrama's specific proposal concerning Peru? Last week, we had the National Unity candidate, General Roberto Chiabra, who states with complete precision, we must have a strategic private participation of 49% and reserve 51%. Does that match or not? Does Enrique Valderrama have anything else to say about Petroperu?
Understanding Petroperu, let's say, as a whole integral entity and saying that it will be privatized or will be part of a scheme in such a simple way. It is essential that any action taken be cost-effective, avoiding unnecessary strain on public funds. We strongly believe that two key principles need to be adhered to, ensuring it is not a financial burden on taxpayers as it has historically been. Don't forget that the problem with the Talara refinery started under the APRA administration, but originally it was estimated at 800 million and ended up costing 7,000 million. Similar to other reassessed projects, the second metro line and the gas pipeline are being evaluated. We are absolutely convinced that we must differentiate in any event between those assets that possess the potential, so to speak, for self-sustainability and those that lack it. And I believe that one tool we must analyze without any doubt whatsoever is private management as well, without any doubt. I am not referring to the sale itself, but rather to a private administrative process that could certainly align, perhaps even with external specialists, but crucially also with the employees themselves. Wouldn't you agree?
Agreed. Well, thank you very much to Enrique Valderrama, presidential candidate for the Peruvian Aprista Party, APRA. Thank you very much.
Glad I could come. Thankful for the opportunity.
All right, we are now transitioning to the society and mining segment with Iván Arenas. Please proceed.
From pause to compromise with reluctance, a necessary reform in the concessions of the concerning the granting of mining rights and permits in particular. Everything you seek can be found here. within the various documents that have been elaborated by the political parties taking part in the forthcoming elections, like proposals on the mining issue. Renovación Popular, for example, argues that there are concessions that are not being utilized, meaning they have taken up the narrative put forth by these informal miners or their respective guilds. And some elements from the far left, from the populist fringes, they argue, for instance, that they should implement what is known as the second or first agrarian reform in the concessions. They want a Velasco-style approach in mining. We are seeing all of that in the coming discussions revolving around both informal and completely illegal mining operations. However, we are not seeing them get to the bottom of the issue, and the bottom of the issue is how we manage to get the concession holders and the miners to agree to obtain the contracts for exploitation. And this is within the framework of another important issue. Currently, there is no established formalization strategy in place at the moment. The national government, especially in the Ministry of Energy and Mines. There is also no formalization director, a new deputy minister of mines. All these factors contribute to the absence, as we noted, of this necessary planning, this structured programming, this strategy to formalize over 31,565 reinfos, but it also warns. It alerts that tomorrow or later, we could witness another expansion of what is known as the reinfo registry. Therefore, focus your attention, significant attention, on the statements made by the candidates regarding mining formalization, to what they are proposing, the proposal they have from idle concessions to the revocation of concessions that would basically liquidate formal mining and the mining we have in Peru, which is extremely powerful. And also pay attention to what the Ministry of Energy and Mines is doing by still not having a formalization strategy of the rainfall. Thank you very much, and we will keep talking.
And so, as we arrive at the conclusion of this program, Cesar, what Rodolfo García Esquerre, who serves as the High Commissioner for Combating Illegal Mining, is communicating to us is, and the Presidency of the Council of Ministers, although there is a concept I find it interesting about how to do things. Now, in order to see progress, there must be an increase in their investment for development. Without investment, no advancements can be made.
More budget.
More budget. However, I still harbor doubts that I aim to address as we progress, for the things we observe along the journey tend to raise questions. In the news is different, and what we know as people linked to the mining sector, it is slightly different, you see. We have a somewhat lost war over there. And if prompt action is not taken, the figures are already approaching $10 billion annually, surpassing legal mining. I believe we should be well organized and always operate within the boundaries of the law, not outside of it.
You articulated it well in the conceptual section. Rodolfo García Esquerre is clear because he has put forward those three crucial pillars: eradication, formalization, and also the restoration. The next government must continue to address the issue of illegal mining within the operating environment. The multi-sectoral collaboration must also be maintained for effective management.
All right. And we have also been with the candidate for APRA, the Peruvian Aprista Party, Enrique Valderrama. It seems to me they have a clear grasp of the infrastructure issue, the bureaucracy issue, which is something the presidential candidates repeat often, right? Mining bureaucracy. But it's not just bureaucracy. It's water. The reservoirs, check taxes. There are several things that would help. To comprehend mining, one must recognize that attempting to manage everything simultaneously may lead to potential financial loss. It is essential to grasp this concept in order to navigate the industry effectively. But in the end, you will have so much investment that you will triple the investment, which is what we need. Cajamarca, with 5 projects.
Amazing.
And he can't move them.
What caught my eye was the proposal made by Keiko Fujimori from Fuerza Popular to allocate 20% of the mining royalties directly to the citizens, a measure that was suggested a long time ago.
In that specific region, Valderrama has established partnerships with Keiko Fujimori.
Let's see, you are already invited. To determine whether they possess in-depth knowledge on mining or merely have basic talking points rehearsed, effectively engaging us in the conversation. When questioned about mining, it is crucial to address this significant topic that contributes to 10% of the GDP, 60% of all exports. What the mining industry manages in Peru is certainly not a small figure. Grateful to have you with us, Cesar. My name is Jorge Leon, and my colleague Cesar Campos collaborated in the development of this program. Please do not forget, we are waiting for all of you every Saturday morning at precisely 8:25 on Willax Television.